Hey mom and dad, are you tearing your hair out over your kids' seeming addiction to video games? Or maybe they just spend so much time on them that you're concerned that it's affecting them in negative ways. Especially now when kids are kind of like in and out of school, or we're in and out of quarantine, or we just don't know what's happening. Well, we know that video game playing is increasing dramatically in the time that our kids are spending interacting, even on their phones or on consoles, online, with their friends and with who knows whom. We can be very concerned, and there is a good reason to be. What are these dangers, and what can we do about them? I just want to talk about one of the main things that you can be doing today, and I really want to challenge you with this. I just want to read a quote from a great book called Breaking the Trance. It is now well publicized that media companies, I want you to listen to this, mom and dad, that media companies hire staffs of psychologists to help them design games. Why would they do that? Don't they just hire cool, fun people? They do that with compulsion loops in mind to increase the degree of psychological demand that the game imposes on the player, aka our children as well as us as adults, deliberately making video games more addictive. They're trying to design it with compulsion loops. These are neuroscientists. These are full-blown folks that are paid psychologists to do that. And you know what happens is, if the response is, they test this on kids and the eyes dilating and the sweaty palms and the whole deal, if they don't get the response they want, they go back to the drawing board and they make it more and more addicting. A lot of these companies obviously want to keep their kids, keep the kids connected to the games or buying more stuff. And so that's something that we need to understand, that there is a intentional drive to get you and I and our children addicted to these games. This is from the University of Indiana School of Medicine study. Clearly showed that neurobiological changes in the brain were a direct result of the video game playing. Okay? Brain changes that mirrored those of drug addiction. Hi. Welcome back to parenting. So we are seeing real brain. So if the question is are there dangers? There are dangers, and it's happening invisibly inside of our children's brains, or for you and I. Distractibility and poor impulse control are signs of addiction. The study showed a direct relationship between playing violent video games over an extended period of time and subsequent change in those brain regions associated with executive functioning, and you guys know about that, in the prefrontal cortex, okay? Self-control and impulse control are characteristics of maturity and success, right? Our kids' brains, as you know, don't develop fully in the front until the mid-20s. So our kids are already in a place where their brain, we want that to really fire. We want activity in the front as much as possible, in self-control and impulse control. You and I know what it's like when the kids are playing video games. Hey guys, it's time to turn that off, or you come back. I told you to turn that off, or whatever. You reach for the controller, and then your child manifests into this monster from the Black Lagoon and like grabs you. You know, I heard of someone who bit their parent's leg, and why is that happening? You know, it's not just that the kids are some bad kids or whatever, but we have to understand, if we're not helping protect them and control their time, or maybe the content or the intensity level of these games, it can do something to their brain and take over, so to speak, their body, their response. They lack impulse control. You know, and even if they're not biting your leg, you know what I'm talking about, their aggressive behavior, their sassy attitudes, again, you know, for when you talk to them. You know what I'm talking about, right? We just saw this early on with our kids just after watching television. It's like just their attitudes changed and whatnot. Here's the point that I want to make, that I really want you to remember. Our kids' brains are different from our brains, okay? They're more malleable right now. They're forming, and as you know, they're not fully formed. So for you and I to play an hour of video games with our kids, if I sat down with my son and we're playing together, my daughter, and it's like, what is that race car driver game or the first-person shooter game doing to my brain? It's very different than them. And they get this situation that the experts call like being all revved up but nowhere to go. And what it's doing to their brain and impacting the plasticity of the brain for them, it's different for you, mom and dad. So you have to understand, and we need to understand, that the time limits that we need to impose on our children is important, and it's healthy, and it's safe for them. I'm not demonizing all video games here. I love it. Do it. They're fun. They can be great times with family and friends. But if we don't limit it and if we don't control it, and we're not even talking about the content yet, that's another video altogether, but if we don't take the time to at least set some limits, okay, then we can be hurting our kids if it's just too much for them. It can impact their brains. It can create screen dependence at the very least, if not full-blown addictions. And it can really create things that are similar to drug addictions and desires. Create a situation in their brain for that, okay? All right, so I want to challenge you today. Do you have time limits for your children through their teen years even, right? For video games in your home. If you don't, then I challenge you today and encourage you strongly, sit down with your spouse or for just by yourself and write down or with a friend and say, hey, let's sit down together and do this. What is a reasonable amount of time, a max amount of time? Or maybe they can't do it till after homework, or maybe they do the coins, the minutes for minutes that we've talked about before. You need to have some kind of a system, okay? Secondly, if you want to learn more about this and different ways that we can grow a heart-to-heart connection with our kids, create healthy lifestyles and relationships with technology, as well as completely bring safety online for our kids, then check out my free webinar online at familytechgameplan.com. There's also an invitation into an online course there if you feel like, shucks, how am I going to ever get my kids on board with this? I can help you do that as I teach the course and you do it together with your kids, okay? Now is the time to do this, friends. School is back or not in session, or quarantine, yes or no. Things are ramping up online, and now is the time for us to make sure that our kids are as safe and healthy as they possibly can be. All right, Mom and Dad, I know it's a lot. We're dealing with a lot, but I'm in the trenches with you. I know you can do it. I'll talk to you soon.